Welcome back to another episode of Hockey North Weekly. I'm your host, Tyler Lizotte, with the one and only Brendan Palu. Brendan, how are you doing?
Good. It was another eventful sports weekend all around the Prince George area. Of course, you had the Caribou Games. I was lucky enough to be at Sunday's 4-1 victory over the Vancouver Northeast Chiefs. Also took in the final home games of the Timberwolves women's soccer team against UBC. They did not get fare as lucky against the nation's top-ranked Thunderbirds, but good sports weekend overall. You know, feel the fall chill in the air once the sun goes down. So it's starting to feel more and more like fall and winter sports season here in BC's northern capital.
It really is, and for me, I did the broadcast for the Saturday afternoon game for the U18 Caribou Cougars, where they won 6-5 in overtime. A lot of eventful, emotional action from both teams in that game, and booted right over to the Prince George Cougars game with the Prince Albert Raiders, as the Cougars also won a very emotional and eventful 5-4 victory over the Prince Albert Raiders. And just so much going on here in the city. It's been a lot of fun to follow.
Yeah, just that time of year, everything's in full swing, and you can just feel the buzz and the anticipation of not just the Prince George Cougars, but all the sports teams across the north. It makes it really, really fun to cover.
It really does. And, this weekend, a lot of action here in Prince George as, the U18s right now are still without a regulation loss as they defeated the Northeast Chiefs, who was right behind them in the second place seed in their conference. So two really massive wins. They got 4 out of 4 possible points this weekend, only sacrificing one loser point to Northeast. But the likes of Jackson Larman, Blake Collis, and Miller Tedesco have shown and have been really impressive and lived up to the reputation so far. And of course, the U18 AAA debut for Seattle's very own Jackson Decker.
And Decker, a very nice addition to this team. That, of course, means Matias Ramos-Gadwaz goes back to the U17s, but it's a good problem to have when you have good goalie depth in your system. Decker, of course, taking a lot of the net. He was last week's Hockey North guest along with Colton Gary of Williams Lake when he was still up with the Thunderbirds, and looked very comfortable in the goal. Obviously not going to be very happy with the first one he let in, but good composure, good response. And I would say with just seeing the scoreboard of Saturday's game, a much more complete effort from this Caribou Cougar team from start to finish, and even getting some of that secondary scoring from the likes of Brett Peebles, which ended up being the game winner, as well as Bo Murray.
Yeah, and we were talking to Tyler Bruff, the head coach for the U18 Caribou Cougars, after the game, and one of the things he noticed, and you're looking at players kind of voting for ice time on this team. It is such a deep roster. You look first, second, third line, and even a bit on the fourth line. You got a lot of guys that are capable of playing, top 9, top 6 minutes, and a lot of guys looking for that opportunity. So you create a lot of that competitive atmosphere within your roster, but that only makes you a better hockey team.
And I think come playoff time, that depth and that balanced scoring and that deep scoring with guys showing that they are capable all across the lineup when they get their opportunity should be all the more valuable and be also a matchup nightmare for the opposition come the end of winter into spring.
Very well said, and we're heading into the U18 Caribou Cougars bye weekend here, this following weekend from the release of this podcast. One of the things that we're on the watch for is the Circle K invite for the Caribou Cougars. We'll wait to see if that comes to fruition, but that would be a really good opportunity for this Caribou squad.
And this is a program that had a stretch where they were in that tournament every year, not so much the last couple of seasons, but hopefully with their ranking and standing that they are able to get the invite then accepted. Be great exposure for a lot of those kids that might be undecided in terms of where they want to play their hockey next year, get exposed to a bunch of scouts and a bunch of programs, and it's a good revealer and a good mini showcase or a medium length showcase, if you want to call it that. The tournament runs for about a week. Obviously, you see the junior A leagues had their showcases. We see it in the AAA level all the time, but this is kind of that elite level showcase at that U18 AAA level for a lot of these programs.
Well, exactly. You get a lot of you're getting all of the top programs from across the country at the U18 AAA level. And the amount of recruiters and scouts that do come to this tournament to see the best talent on display in our nation, it's a big opportunity. And for this U18 roster here for the Caribou Cougars, they have so much talent that I think it's a huge opportunity, and we're really hoping that comes through for them.
And it's not just across Canada. There are teams from the States that do come up to this tournament. There have been some international flavor of that have come in and even won this tournament for a couple of years. Yeah. So, this is, if and when they do get the okay to go, it should be a great experience for them.
Very well said. Let's move on to the PG Cougars. Of course, only one game this weekend, as they had Prince Albert coming in town on their Western Road swing here. And the Cougars have had a hard time getting a regulation win for the last couple of games. They had 3 games straight with Portland, where in each game they sacrificed the lead and Portland came back to win. Fortunately for the Cougars, 2 of the 3 were overtime losses. They do get the 1 point each, but is it big for the team to get the monkey off their back with this big 5-4 win over a very competitive Prince Albert team?
Well, because now the expectation is there. They're not fooling anybody. Everybody knew the Cougars were going to be good this year, but especially more so now with how close they actually got to get to the league final. Bit more of a bounty on this organization's head than what there was just a year earlier. They've got all the talent in the world, but the worst thing you want to avoid is that complacency. You can't just waltz in and just hope that the other team that you're playing mails in the 2 points. I mean, that's not going to happen. So redeveloping that killer instinct, getting those good habits, and Josh Ravensburg and trying to get back to his form from last season. It's been a bit hit and miss so far, but all the confidence that he's able to get back to that standard, as well as the rest of the team. It's a team game. You got to play together. You got to play connected, and I'm sure Jim Playfair and Mark Lamb will do their best to figure that out as they head on to an Alberta road swing here, which starts Monday in Calgary, then stops in Medicine Hat midweek, followed by a Friday matchup in Lethbridge. So a chance for them to get in the road, bond a bit more, and iron out some of those kinks.
And I will say, being in attendance there for the game Saturday between the Cougars and the Raiders, Riley Height really came alive. Of course, he's the captain for the team this year, and primarily he is a more of a setup guy, an elite playmaker. His vision is incredible. But he got three goals. He got the hat trick there Saturday night, and he looked very good in doing so. And you're seeing a lot more confidence in his ability to shoot the puck and get the release. And so I think a big key to the success for the Cougars, finding that consistency and getting those goals and consistently bringing forth that effort, is going to be Riley Height taking the initiative to lead that charge.
And I think part of that is knowing that the likes of Zach Funk, Carlin Dezane, who was recently traded to Swift, as well as a couple other secondary guys that were forced to move on due to aging out or just the 20 situation in general. A lot more of that emphasis to score will be placed on Riley Heights. So I think he'll become a little bit more of a selfish hockey player, but in a good way in terms of utilizing that shot. Obviously, the elite passing will still be there, but it's going to be more in his mind to maybe take the game on a stick, take it over, and shoot a little bit more than in past years. Obviously, you still have Zemer. You have Jet Lajoie off to a good start. You still have Parasak, of course. Hunter Lang chipping in a bit more consistently offensively. There's a whole host of others also in the fray for those offensive looks as well. But just Height knowing that a lot more of what's going to happen on his stick will have to be a little bit more of the shooting variety this year.
That's very well said. And to add into, Arseny Anisimov has made his debut officially here at home for the Prince George Cougars. He slotted in on the second pair with Bauer Dumansky. I was really impressed with how he looked, the way that he skates and moves the puck. He isn't the biggest guy. He's listed at 5'11", a little over 150 pounds, so he's a bit light. He's only a 17-year-old player, but he's physically engaged. He moved the puck well, and he played with a lot of confidence. And for a Prince George Cougars team that, for the most part, has been maybe struggling a bit defensively in helping out Ravensburg on the back end, maybe a breath of fresh air having another young player that's hungry, that is playing a pretty big role now so early on, now that he has officially arrived for the Prince George Cougars.
And part of that will just come with continuity and gaining experience and all those sorts of things. So a chance for Artemi to finally get his bearings, and again, like many of the other teammates, bond with the rest of the Cougar players on the road, and a chance for him to focus more on himself as well as mastering that team game and incorporating his style into that system. I'm sure Jim Playfair will definitely work with him to maximize that potential, being only 17. So another exciting addition for the Prince George Cougars and our Arseny Anisimov, and looking forward to see what he looks like once they come back home here, which will be the 25th and 26th against the Victoria Royals, who are also looking very good in that BC division.
Yeah, and the Prince George Cougars and Victoria Royals rivalry is very strong and very deep. And I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup here at home.
Yes, and lots of things to look forward to once they come back on the road. Prince George Spruce Kings taking it on the chin on the road in Alberta. A 4-game, 5-day, 2-province road trip, losing 6-3 to Okotoks and then dropping a decision to Brooks last night. We kind of knew they were in tough against Brooks given on who the Bandits are, but dropping to Okotoks 6-3 in that fashion, maybe the more disappointing of the two outcomes. Now they head on their way to Abbotsford to play 2 more games against both Bulldogs franchises, that being Black Falls and Alberni Valley. And Spruce Kings got to find a way to get that consistency in their game.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a new road trip here for the Prince George Spruce Kings. Of course, late in the season last year, those 5 AJHL teams who departed joined in, but they only played within the Alberta team division last year, as it was a bit on the fly, as the league made it work. Given the circumstances, but for a lot of the teams in the BCHL, it's the first time making their way out to Alberta to do this trip. And so I'm sure it's a new thing for this Prince George Spruce Kings, and they're looking to have a good start to the year and just build some momentum, before Christmas and get themselves a playoff seeding. But a lot of good teams there in Alberta. Of course, Okotoks gave them a lot to handle. It was a bit of a tighter game than I think the score represented. But knowing going into Brooks, they're undefeated so far this year, and definitely a game where the Spruce Kings maybe were just looking to just kind of get through it. But now I think that's a lot of experience notched on their belts as they look to come back to BC.
Yeah, and 2 more winnable games against Alberni Valley and Black Falls. You just hope that the front half of the road trip didn't take too much out of them, because you obviously have the travel going straight from Brooks into Abbotsford. I know they passed through Golden on their way to that Langley-Abbotsford area. So hopefully they're able to, recharge on the bus and refocus against 2 other opponents.
And one of the players I do want to touch in on here is Montroy for the Prince George Spruce Kings. He has been lighting the lamp since coming to the Spruce Kings. How much of a boost does he continue to be for this team? And
you can tell that he's played at that higher level. He played for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds before playing Cornwall Colts. When I talked to him after he scored his hat-trick against the Surrey Eagles, that one Saturday game where the Spruce Kings won, this is a guy that Mike Hawes sought out in the summer. Montroy initially elected to start the year with Cornwall, got off to the hot start, and then eventually made that decision to make the jump to the BCHL, and so far it's worked out for him.
And, it's very evident, GM Mike Hawes, he has deep connections within the recruitment process. Over the years, he's brought in some excellent talent, especially from Ontario and some from the U.S., but it's nice to see that he was able to bring in a top-tier player to help lead the charge offensively for a Spruce Kings team that, has been looking for that goal-scoring touch.
Yeah, and they haven't had a lot of it. They've had to score by committee, and sometimes it's very hard to do when the puck's not going in the net. So adding a guy like Montroy is, a major plus for this Spruce Kings team. They just have to find a way to get hot and find themselves on the winning side of the results more often than not here.
And now let's move along to some more of the updates for our northern athletes here in the region. What else is going on here over the weekend?
We saw Abby Bryant of the Nate Ooks score her very first AC goal in a 6-3 win on Saturday. She did it in front of a lot of her former Capital teammates who took in the Nate game this past weekend. So congratulations Abby for scoring that goal. You can see that Lethbridge Hurricanes have a good winning weekend there with a couple of more victories. Vancouver Giants in the midst of a Alberta road trip. I believe Cameron Schmidt had an overtime winner in one of the games over the weekend. So congratulations to Cameron. Of course, he is one of the top-rated prospects for the upcoming NHL draft. So be closely watching where he falls in the rankings throughout the season there. KIJHL, Williams Lake Mustangs, we were just there last week. They fell twice at home, albeit to two of the stronger programs in the Nelson Leafs and the Grand Forks Boulder Bruins. Quesnel River Rush had another loss on Friday as well. They pretty much played the same teams. There's alternating schedules when they go on those Quesnel Williams Lake road trips, but the KI teams are still finding their groove, as it were, and I'm sure they'll get those wrinkles sorted out. But we knew that some growing pains were going to be there for those teams, just a matter of when they're able to find those strides. But I think both those teams, especially the Mustangs, with us being there physically and seeing the product firsthand, you definitely see that Tyrell Lucas has that group playing hard and going in the right direction.
And, one of the biggest takeaways I had while we were in Williams Lake, talking to a few of the guys that we know personally from growing up here in Prince George, playing for the Caribou Cougars, and Noah Piers and Garrett Feeney, is how much they respect and trust Tyrell, right? When you're trying to recruit players to come to your program, especially if you're a brand new program, your reputation's big as your coaching staff, player development wise. And so I think a lot of the respect people have for Tyrell, and I think the way that his methods have speak for himself. He's had a big hand in the developments of guys like Gary or Dicker, a lot of these Williams Lake talents that went to go be, drafted by WHL teams and gone on to play AAA hockey, gone on to play some junior hockey opportunities. And his son Asher also being a draft pick by the Seattle Thunderbirds. That's really good. That's a really good thing to see as you start out, as you're trying to build your program and develop your reputation in the KIJHL or any league for that matter. So just seeing how respected he is by his team is a really good sign. And the community support in Williams Lake for this junior hockey program, you can tell that they've been starving for one for a while. Now the opportunity is here to buy in and support this program, and they're certainly getting it from the community. Yeah,
that was a very well-attended crowd. It was quite the game against Kamloops. Storm won in a shootout 5-4, but shots on goal 50-47. It could have went either way, and the fans went away very entertained. You just feel the buzz in the crowd when the Mustangs take the ice.
And the other thing I want to know too is, this was our first time traveling as a group to go cover hockey outside of Prince George, and the whole Williams Lake Mustangs organization was so hospitable and welcoming, and the fans were awesome. We got to talk to a few people in attendance. How did you feel about being there for yourself? I know for me, I felt like I was right at home there watching that game on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, it was a big moment for our media company in terms of taking that next step, going out to these communities as you mentioned, and yeah, it went great. The trip was a bit long. You had the construction on the way up, and then on the way back, obviously it's 2+ hours. But yeah. Just seeing some familiar faces, being amongst the crowd, and just getting a sense of that community. We stopped off obviously with one of the local establishments there on our way to the game, and that was very good to see that as well, and just be amongst the locals.
Very well said. And this week we're going to be doing another Hockey North trip. We're going to be heading to Quesnel this time to cover the River Rush. And of course, we have quite a few Northern talent listed on that roster. One of the most notable names that we've got to see a lot of over the last 3 to 4 years, Isaiah Bagri, a Quesnel product who gets to play junior hockey in his hometown.
Yeah, Bagri coming off a hat trick not too long ago on a 7-6 win over the Chase Heat. Swinging the hot stick for Quesnel. Liam Richardson, of course, a defenseman with the Caribou program, playing as a 17-year-old as a defenseman up with the River Rush. A couple other players in there as well that with some Northern ties, but those are the two most recent through the Caribou program that come to my mind offhand here. But Bagri, like many junior players, looking to take that next step in their trajectory of junior hockey. Bagri, initially committed to go to Grand Prairie, but wanted to go home, and Bagri, it's working out so far for him, playing for the River Rush.
Yeah, I mean, immediately Isaiah Bagri, as he slides into the lineup, has been one of their marquee names. I believe he's either just at a point per game right now, or he's a little bit over after the last couple of games. But last I checked, he's been very consistent. The KIJHL highlighted him as one of the top point producers in the previous week. So very early on, Isaiah Bagri doing his hometown proud and in their inaugural KIJHL season.
Yeah, props to Isaiah. Hope it continues here as the River Rush trying and climb up the standings.
Very well said. That is going to be it for Caribou. Brendan, who do we have on the podcast this week?
On the podcast are three familiar names within the Caribou program, all playing on the same team. Jessie and Marek Brideau and Peyton Legg Cote of the Chilliwack Chiefs had the opportunity to speak with all three of them recently. Chilliwack in the top two of their division, trailing only the Ridge Meadow Flames in the Pacific Junior Hockey League. And Jessie Brideau off to a point per game start. Marek not too far behind on that pace. And of course, Peyton Legg Cote, the hard-nosed defenseman, getting his bearings down on the blue line at the higher level. And all three players very excited to be playing junior A hockey, and a chance to sit down and get to know them a little bit more, and all very excited for the opportunity that they're getting in the Fraser Valley.
Yeah, and of course, Jessie Brideau, a really good friend of mine, played hockey with my younger brother growing up. One of the big things that he mentioned to me in the decision to go down to go play in Chilliwack at the junior A level was the opportunity to really find his offensive game. And he wanted to be in a system where he was trusted to take on that role. And evidently he did. He was one of the top point guys on the Chilliwack team last year and one of the top guys in the league in points. And he's really picked up where he's left off. And it's really good to see such a humble young man get that opportunity to be able to show what he has and push forward in his hockey career.
Yeah, and to play with his twin brother Marek as well as Peyton, it makes the experience that much more memorable. Of course, Peyton's, I think, a year younger than both the Brideaus, being in 07, but the fact that you have three Caribou guys on one team just goes to show that the coaching and the feeder system that the Cougars have developed is working on getting guys to the next level. Another team that has three former Caribou Cougars, LaRonge Ice Wolves, Owen Wilkinson, Tyson Matthews, and Will McKay. Also up in the SJHL, Josh Sale, Merrick Mamek. With the Humboldt Broncos, Reid Arbery, Flin Flon Bombers. Scott Cousins back in the lineup for Portage over the weekend, playing top 6 minutes there. Decker Moitchin off to a good start. So the names are endless as you see a lot of Caribou Cougar grads scattered right across the junior A ranks. Of course, we'd be remiss not to mention Ryder Green, Lyndon Mackel playing 150 VCHL games recently. Mason Lowen also there.
Carter Hesselgrave
also a Spruce King. So the North very well represented across the board.
And not to mention as well, or to mention we should say, is Amar Power also in the MJHL.
He's actually playing in the Superior International Junior Hockey League now with one of the teams there. So a bit of a late change in terms of a roster for him, but Amar Power finding his offensive game with the Cam Lake Fighting Walleye down in Ontario there. So he's having a good resurgent season there, and a chance for him to kind of go on a more offensive note, as he was one of those power forwards recently, of recent memory with the Caribou Cougars.
Yeah, well said. And it's safe to say, the North is on the rise, and here in the North, Caribou Cougars are playing a massive part in that, feeding a lot of these players, developing them into a lot of these junior leagues. And across the board, you're going to look at a lot of Northern guys hoping to get drafted in the NHL again this year, high up as well. It's really cool to see the development and the high level of hockey we're seeing here in the North.
Yeah, it's great to see even players that are maybe not part of the Caribou program right now that are playing up in the Western League. You got Miguel Marcus, drafted and signed by the Nashville Predators. I mentioned Cameron Schmidt, projected to be a high pick in this summer's NHL draft. Tanner Mollendijk, not a Caribou Cougar per se, but from McBride, played for the Thompson Blazers, up with the Saskatoon Blades yet again, was close to making it as a 19-year-old up in Nashville this year. So And you got Evan Gardner, who's his teammate, who's a starting goaltender with Saskatoon. They'll be here in November, and the chance to look at those two guys, Caden Lindstrom recovering from injury from Medicine Hat, along with Gavin McKenna. They're climbing up the standings after getting Harrison Minigan from the Lethbridge Hurricanes. So lots to talk about throughout the rest of the season here.
And as always, we both very much look forward to following the content, following the progress of these players and in the organizations. Until then, we hope that you guys enjoyed our podcast here for this week. Stay tuned for our podcast next week, and we hope you all have an awesome Thanksgiving. And it's Tyler Lizotte, along with Brendan Palu, signing out.
All right, welcome back to the Hockey North podcast. Here with me now are three Caribou Cougar alumni now suiting up with the Chilliwack Jets of the Pacific International Junior Hockey League. With me now, Jessie and Marek Brideau, as well as Peyton Legg Cote. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank
Hello.
you.
Well, first things first, Chilliwack Jets off to a hot start so far early in the season. I'll go around the horn here since there's three of you on the same episode. I'll start with the Brideau twins here, Marek and Jessie. What seems to be working for you as well as your team in this hot start?
I think just really grasping the concept as playing as a team, just make sure we find ways to break out properly, get the puck in, play hard and physical, because lots of teams don't like that, and just wear them down over the game and just end up coming out on top, never giving up on plays or anything, always wanting to be better than your opponents every game, night in and night out.
Marek?
Yeah, it's very similar, like just simple plays and very hard on like forechecks and all that type of stuff like that. So it's just honestly like simplify like our game is what's bringing us to our success right now. So it's helping us a lot from that aspect right there.
Yeah. What about you, Peyton? I mean, you're on the back end on the blue line, and you're known to be a very physical presence on the back end, just based on your days with the Caribou Cougars. How is your game translated over to the junior level?
Yeah, I feel like it basically stayed the same, still very physical, blocking lots of shots, keeping the puck out of our net, making tape-to-tape passes and just very simple.
But you've also noticed too, since coming over the games, bit physical, a lot more bigger players, and of course, a lot of these older players more well equipped to take a hit from you or from anybody.
Yeah, no, they know how to take a hit as well as give a hit. It's a little humbling being up with this higher level. I've noticed that all these guys they can hit me, knock me over, which doesn't happen very often. I'm not really used to it, so yeah.
Yeah. What's the adjustment been for you, Peyton, in terms of playing at this level? You played, 25, 30 minutes a night with the Caribou Cougars. You're a rookie now at this level. What's it been like for you carving out your role on this team?
Yeah, I know my role is to like keep the puck out of our net and out of the house, as much as possible. Minute wise is a little different. I keep getting bumped back a bit just because those veteran guys know what they're doing, and I'm still kind of learning the systems. So that's my ice time's been cut a little bit, but not too terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And adjusting down here, it's a good adjustment. I think I'm developing a lot more, learning how to play a higher level, faster hockey.
Mm-hmm. Now, both Marek and Jessie, you both played for the Jets last year. Jessie, you had a pretty solid rookie season with the Jets, putting up 27 goals, 27 assists, off to a hot start offensively this year with 6 goals. Your brother Marek had 23 points last year in 41 games, just the one helper so far through 4 games. What seemed to click for both of you offensively, especially for yourself, Jesse, being a rookie last year?
Um, I think having those older guys always having to push me, trying to keep my spot in the lineup at the start of the season, and having those skilled guys that I can learn off of and know how to play with them, and then know where the pucks play ahead of the play, just predict where the puck's going to be before it's there, and try to stay ahead of it that way. Because if you do that, then you have a pretty good chance of setting up for a good scoring chance. And also making sure that every game you're not just taking it as another game. You make sure you go in there with a mindset of playing with your heart and playing with all 110% that you got every night.
Marek, what about for you?
Yeah, I think it's like very similar. It's just all the other guys, the older guys are helping to, push you to the next level. And especially like our coaching staff, we have a very, very like high intelligent and very helpful coaching staff. But yeah, it's certainly for like guys from like the older side is definitely helping us out and pushing us like getting us stronger and faster and throughout the years. That's definitely going to help with after our junior hockey. So but yeah, it's definitely like it'll definitely like help out through all that type of stuff. So
Yeah. What's it like for all three of you living in a bigger community, a lot more concentrated in terms of population? The distance to travel to and from your games probably isn't nearly as far. And how motivating is it for you, for all three of you, to maybe want to take that next step, knowing that you have a BCHL team right in your own backyard?
Um, it's pretty good. I mean, it's really close travel. The farthest we have to travel is around like 3.5 hours, I think, max. And um, knowing that we have a team just in the backyard of the BCHL that we would want to maybe get to the next step. There's always people watching the stands. There's no matter where you are, practice games, you never know. So it just motivates me to always try 110%, make sure you always put in that work.
yeah, it's very similar. It's like you have you got your WHL like right next door as well in Langley, and then you got BCHL and Langley as well, right? So it's not only Chilliwack, but it's like above uh all that, right? So it's it definitely helps out to knowing that you have people watching you like through every game and you know through practices, right? You like see someone in the stands, you're like, okay, well, you never know where this guy is from, right? So it definitely like pushes you more and gives you more of a drive, like there's something there, so you want to take action and put like all online. So
Yeah, no, having a BCHL team right in Chilliwack, it's kind of like Prince George, they're always in the stands watching. So, kind of gotta keep your cool a little bit more, I guess. Like someone punches you in the face, you just kind of gotta laugh it off more often. So yeah, no, it's good down here.
How has obviously the landscape of junior hockey has changed a lot over just the past 2 years? You see the BCHL going independent. You see the league you're in now, as well as a couple others, certifying to be junior A. The U and the KI, then Vancouver Island elected to go independent after a year junior A designation. How is that maybe impacted, or at least positively impacted, your league, if you've noticed at all, the quality of players that are now trickling down into your league with that designation now in place as a junior A destination?
I think the quality's gotten a lot better since last year. I've seen more and more players that are skilled come down to the PJHL. I think it's good that um, that the BCHL went not on unsanctioned, because now that leaves the KI and PJ going junior A tier 2 right now, but trying for that junior A tier 1 status in the future. Um, I think it's great because we need another league that's sanctioned within BC, and the KI and PJ, we have a really there's some teams that are really good to go to the junior A route, junior A tier one route, and it's exciting because it brings another level of play to all of BC.
Yeah, it's very like motivating to hear that, right? So you want to make like the league better, and if you can like do anything within your power to like make it better, you will, right? So it's very nice knowing that like after this year, next year that's coming up is going to turn into BCHC, and we're luckily to be a part of one of those teams. So it's gonna be pretty. It's nice to know that for sure.
Peyton?
Yeah, no, just literally everything that Brideau's just covered is basically what I was gonna say. So
Yeah. How would you best describe yourself as a player, Peyton? And has there been anybody in particular that you looked up to or tried to model your game after?
uh yeah, I used to want to be like Dustin Bufflin and Chris Cronwall, but it's still working my way up to those guys. And yeah, my game style, still really physical, blocking lots of shots, not being afraid to get in front of anyone, you know, uh, pushing some of those bigger boys around, letting them know I'm there.
Yeah. What about you, Jesse and Marek?
Um, I like to model my play style after Matthew Tkachuk, like a really physical guy that can create opportunities when he gets the chance to. And he has a good two-way grinder mentality. He loves getting in those gritty areas, and he's also really physical. And I like modeling my game because I'm a bigger guy. I like being physical on the ice, knowing that if I'm going on the off, going chasing the puck down after there's a dump in, that the defense knows I'm going to be there every time and know I'm going to make a hit on him.
Yeah, for me, it's not even compared, but for me, I like to like kind of modern myself to Sidney Crosby. I really want to like have that strength on my stick and make sure have that quickness and those be like nice edge works around the net and stuff. So yeah, for that it's a lot to work on for sure to get to that level. But yeah, it's uh, definitely a working and a big stepping stone to get there. But it's good to see those guys and watch them play and take little like notes off of them. So definitely helps out with your game as well. And especially when I'm a centerman, it helps know like what position I'm in and where to be at the right places on the ice and at the right time. So definitely Crosby is up there.
Mm-hmm. Now let's dial things back a bit early on in your minor hockey days. Peyton, you're from Cecil Lake, which is near the Fort St. John area and stuff. Just maybe take us through how you first got involved in hockey and just as well as maybe some of your earliest minor hockey memories growing up there.
Yeah, my earliest minor hockey memories that I can think of right now is never used to be a D man. I used to actually be a centerman. And then once I stopped playing in Cecil Lake there, moved to Port St. John and started playing there, I dropped back to defense and then, started watching like highlights and stuff about, like Nicholas Cromwell and Dustin Bufflin and just trying to be like those guys. So, I was a bit bigger and than everyone else, moved a lot slower, but just kept grinding away and yeah, eventually I started getting faster, started putting up more points. Um, had a lot of penalty minutes. That's for sure. Uh, yeah, and then from there I COVID hit, so I didn't really get to play my last year of P or my first year of Bantams actually in Fort St. John. I only had 2 games, led the league in points and penalty minutes in that in that year. So and then yeah, no, then I went to Prince George and I was just a relay D-man guy. they'd put me out for a penalty kill when I wasn't in the box. I was actually an assistant captain of that team, and so I was a leader. Guys kind of like, you know, listen to me when I talked and stuff like that. And yeah, no, always worked my hardest whenever I could. Uh, you know, yeah, and then started moving up and moved up to U17 AAA, and points dropped down a lot, but kept the puck out of my net, which is my position. So it's pretty good at that. And yeah, now I'm here playing for the Chilliwack Jets. So
And that just transition to defense occurred just because of numbers when you moved from Cecil Lake to Fort St. John, or was that something you were already looking at?
no, yeah, no, it was just numbers. Like all the forwards slots were taken, so the coach they took me and put me on a defense line, and I actually enjoyed it a lot better than playing forward. So
Mhm. Uh, yes, Marek, Jesse, you're both twins. We'll go to the minor hockey system in Prince George, suiting up for Caribou Cougars at various times. Just maybe take us through some of your earliest memories through minor hockey in the city.
I remember growing up, I always played hockey in Prince George through like Tykes all the way to my second year major midget until I went to Chilliwack. But I started off as a D man when I was younger. I loved D. Tried to be an offensive D man when I was younger. I was a bit bigger. Just loved making the hits coming down the wall and making those breakout passes. And then I tried out for defense my second year Bantam, and all the spots were taken. So then the coach asked me to go to forwards, and I took that opportunity. I've loved it ever since. Just for checking for that puck and making the big hit in the corner. Always trying to be a physical guy. Wasn't too much of wouldn't. Sorry, I'm starting my words here. Always tried to be as physical as I can, not worry about how many points I put up or anything. I just tried to play my game, a hard game, like always make sure my presence is known on the ice. Doesn't matter about points, just go in there and trying to do the best for my team. And if points come, they come. All at the end of the day, it's about winning, and that's what I love.
Yeah, for my story, our first time putting on skates, we were 2 years old. So coming from Pee Wee and minor hockey, like we had enjoyed our hockey career till then, but after that we went through Bantam, and similar story to him is we got thrown to Bobcats, and that was a great year. And then after my development went up through midget when I played with Bobcats and older players, and that's when everything started clicking together and realizing what I want to do is to play hockey for my career. And it's just helping out your team and your boys and your guys behind you and on the side of you is what you want to do, right? So it's definitely it definitely worked out. So yeah, it was very, very similar story to Jesse. It's just, going through midget and, coming out of midget through, we came here on our third year of midget for the Jets. So, it was pretty nice.
What was that transition like for you, Jesse, going from defense to forward? Did you kind of thought it was easier because you already had some of the physical components of the game figured out being a blue liner, and that you already were kind of already defensively responsible because you had to play that way as a defenseman? Did you feel that part of the game was already there when you moved up to forward?
Yeah, I felt like when I first started as a forward, my defensive game was always there. I thought defense before offense. Just let's get the puck out and then work on offense if it comes to us. Just keep the puck out of our nets, make the simple plays. Don't overcomplicate it in the D zone. Make sure you don't fly by the zones. Just stop on pucks, simple things like that to get it out. And I think playing defense when I was younger to start helped me a lot that way. It taught me that you got to get the puck out of the defense zone. You can do anything else. And that was a big key thing, I think, for myself, transitioning from defense to forwards.
Now let's talk about the uh did it freeze? Oh, you see it frozen there for a second, but I got you back now.
There you
Anyways, let's talk more so about the league itself that you're playing in right now in the PJHL, and you're in the Harold Britton Conference. Ridge Meadows is in front of you right now by 4 points. You're 6-1 in second. Langley and Abbotsford are underneath you, followed by Mission, Surrey, and Aldergrove. And then you got the Tom Shaw Conference with Delta, Richmond, White Rock, Coastal, and Poco, all very tightly bunched in the other division. It seems like while it seems to be just you and Chilliwack in the one division, a lot of the other core teams that are in the upper echelon are kind of elsewhere. How do you kind of handicap each game in terms of preparing for your opponent? Or do you kind of just approach the game the same way because there's not going to be a lot of easy nights in your league because you have a lot of competitive teams that are right there with you?
Yeah. Everybody, we all have to, like we all have to play our games like we're playing against Ridge or Richmond, right? All those, top teams. We have to be ready for whoever, right? Because anybody can win anyone in this league. So it's definitely you just have to put your big foot in front, right? So it's basically like what I'm trying to say is you want to play every team how you want to play against Ridge and just to keep up with those top teams. So
Yeah, I'd say you got to prepare you got to prepare the same way every game. You can't think it's going to be a night off because any team can beat any team in this league. You got to prepare the same way you would playing against any team. It's go out and battle your hearts out every night.
Peyton?
Yeah, no, you got to play every game like it's your last, like everything out of the tank at the end of the night. And yes, you never know when a team's going to surprise you. Like one of them bottom teams, you never know if they're going to have a hell of a night and just come out of nowhere and smoke you. So you got to prepare you're versing the top team. We got to play every game like it's game 7 of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to make sure that you're giving it everything every single night.
You all three of you kind of mentioned Ridge Meadows, who are 8-0, and they're the team you're trying to chase for top spot. Are they kind of that benchmark team across the league? And what makes that team, the Flames, maybe a little bit further ahead than you guys right now in terms of not just the record, but you see their goals for and against. They've only given up 11 all year. They've scored 69, so they're playing like a wagon right now. What makes their team such a force to be reckoned with?
They're a highly skilled team. They come out every night and they work their bags off, but they're really skilled. They can make plays, like they can pass the puck around and snap it around really well. They're really good on the power play. You can't let them get any chances on the PP, or they'll most of the time capitalize on that if it's not a good PK you have going there. You just gotta. Sorry, sorry, I'm choking my words. You gotta. Oh,
you gotta dig deep, and it's their structure is very very accurate, right? So you go up against them, right? If you even come play, you play Mitchell first, and then you go next day and you play Ridge Meadows, right? You'll see a completely different hockey team. Is just they're very accurate, right? They're very similar to, I wouldn't say pace wise, but for accuracy and lower team of the BCHL, they're definitely higher in that stance, and they're all they're all much stronger guys, right? And I'm sure like they have 2 practices in a week, so I'm sure they dedicate some time like off the ice to work very very hard. And but I think just they're doing the little things that are making themselves better, and it's definitely showing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like playing against Ridge, totally different ball game than playing against like a team like Mission. Like they're so much faster, so much bigger, so much stronger. They know what they're doing with the puck. Their game's not scrambly at all. But when the forwards put pressure on the defense kind of panic. I guess that's kind of like every team. But yeah, once they get it out and get it into your zone, you got to get that puck out like fast. Like not being afraid to block shots. There's a few guys that don't like to block shots very often, but against Ridge, they know what they have to do and step in front of those pucks anyways. So yeah, no, playing against Ridge is like I said earlier, totally different ball game.
Well, we got a few minutes left here in our chat. I'll go around the horn here. All three of you, just maybe touch on how far you'd like to go with hockey. Of course, every kid will say they want to get to the NHL, but if that's not necessarily in the cards, do you eventually want to jump up to the BCHL? All three of you, do you want to have aspirations to go to the Western League? What do you see as the short term ideal path for all three of you right now?
Um, I whatever like whatever path takes me. Like there's Division 3 scholarships. There's also NCAA, right? So I'm just working hard every day, and trying to go as far as I can go, right? So find that. Like I'm not, we're running a little bit out of time right now with our careers, because we're 18 years old, and we're just trying to find like another stepping stone to see if we can keep this going, right? So but there's a lot of leagues like coming up ahead, right? So we'll never know until then. But right now, like if I had to give you an answer on where I want to play right now, it'd definitely be in the Western Hockey League. But knowing that my time is getting to an end in my junior career, it's a little high unlikely. So what we're gonna what my goal is right now is just helping my team, and just keep on going from there and working hard every day.
Right. My short-term goal, I'd say, is to get a scholarship after I'm done my junior career, whether that's ACHA, D3, D1, just somewhere I can pursue school and play the sport that I want to play as a career, and eventually maybe, depending where I land up, in somewhere play pro hockey for a living. That'd be the ultimate goal. But my short-term goal is just to see if I can get a scholarship somewhere.
Yeah, and my short-term goal, I'm gonna have to agree with Marek there, probably make it to the dub. But yeah, for now, I just started my junior career, so I could still move up to that BCHL level, and still progress from there. And like yeah, making the dub would be a dream, because like I know I'm not going to the show, so yeah, that's my short-term goal, is to make the dub or make the BCHL.
Are you noticing now, the three of you, and you probably don't notice it as much because you got to focus on the team and the game in the hand. This will be the last question. But are you noticing scouts and different people kind of giving your league and your team maybe more exposure just because of all the restructuring, the interest maybe in your league, even though it's still technically Junior A2 designation? Scouts and other colleges are a little bit more curious than maybe they were a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely like a name of the league can change, right? But it's all up to like the players and what they can do, right? So if you hear a player that's really good, they're gonna check them out. But definitely, like for the league name to be changed, everybody, you see a lot of higher end guys come into our league, and it's definitely it attracts more scouts and more coaches to come watch us. And we definitely see it and notice it a lot, right? Because we have some guys right now that are doing very well, and 2 guys that went to Western camps. So it definitely attracts a lot of scouts in our league.
Yeah, I think over the last few years, our leagues have really, the PJHL has really stepped up, and you've seen lots more of attraction from scouts, teams coming in our direction. So that's good to hear, because now we just got to keep going up, and eventually it'll be just as good as the BCHL one day, hopefully.
Personally, I haven't noticed a ton of scouts, just because, like you said, I've been focusing on the game, not watching the crowd as much in game situations. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of exposure in this league. Like the Brideau said, 2 of our players went to dub camps and did pretty decent at those. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me on this. And of course, we wish you very well in terms of your continued success with the Jets and beyond. And maybe later on in the season, we'll all catch up again here in the future.
That's sweet.
All right, awesome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. No problem. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.